right, welcome everyone. Hopefully you enjoyed a little bit of smooth jazz funk to get everything going this evening. Very shortly, Josh and Carmen are going to join on video as well. And yeah, there we are. All right, we've got Carmen and let's see if we got Josh. There we go. Perfect. All right. Well, I just want to thank everyone for joining us tonight. My name is Matt. Don't know Motion. We're an online fitness streaming platform, and our mission is to make the world a healthier place through personalized fitness for all. But really, that's about the last thing you're going to hear about Motion tonight. Tonight, our focus is on hearing from two amazing people. The first one is one of Motion's elite coaches, and that's Carmen Puyo. Carmen began her career about 24 years ago as a group fitness instructor. Currently, she's a group exercise director for a corporate wellness company and course instructor at Humber College as well. Welcome, Carmen. And next up, we've got Josh Cassidy. Josh is a three-time Canadian Paralympic athlete in wheelchair racing. Amongst his many achievements, he's a 31-time Canadian champion, Boston Marathon winner, London Marathon winner, Chicago and LA Marathon winner. It's hard not to see why Josh, or it's hard to see why Josh isn't our Chief Motivational Officer. I'll get that right next time we do a webinar, I promise. Josh is our Chief Motivational Officer, and some say all around great guy as well. Welcome, Josh.
Thanks, Matt.
All right, so for the first 20 to 30 minutes, folks, we're gonna hear from Josh and Carmen on ways to help yourself and others get and stay motivated through this continued pandemic and into 2021. And then we wanna hear from you. So please use the Q&A function to submit any questions. And if you see any questions that you like, feel free to upvote them as well. And with that, I'm going to disappear, turn it over to Josh and Carmen, and I'm excited to listen and to learn.
Thanks, Matt. That was great. Josh, what's up, my friend?
Hi, Carmen. How are you doing?
God. Oh my God, I'm so excited to have this chat with you, honestly. Like it's
Me
been
too.
like I was like all week. I even posted on my my Instagram page that you were my 2020 inspiration.
Oh, thank you.
And the more I get to know you, the more inspired I am. Like honestly, like I want to be an Olympic athlete. Like, do you think it's too late? Like, do you think it's too late? Okay.
No, go for it. The
Okay,
way I've seen you, because for those that don't know, we met through Motion. So Carmen's a trainer, and the video I saw of her. So I don't know if anyone has seen either of our videos on the Motion app yet. Both of our training sessions, but that was a new experience for me because I've been training for 20 years. You've been, is it 24 years that you've been
24.
a fitness?
Yes.
And, but I've never really had an experience of a start to end class of speaking and telling, instructing, and the amount of extra energy it takes to do that, hats off. And then so seeing you do yours and the amount of energy you have was very impressive. So
well, thank you. I mean, talk about impressive. You, my friend, a 3-time Olympian. Okay. You did the Boston, not only did you do the Boston Marathon, but you set a time of 1 hour, 18 minutes, like the fastest.
Mhm.
And wait, I was telling you this, I was watching Rick Mercer.
Yeah.
And you were doing like pull-ups, like with your chair at ain't nothing, all good. I got this. You could be like drinking some water while you're doing it at the same time. I was like, whoa, how inspiring. Obviously, you've like just who you are, what you've done. It's inspired me and inspired so many people. And like
Thanks.
you lost partial use of your legs, and you obviously have gone through so many obstacles. Like how did you learn to do that at such a young age? Like where did that come from?
When it's at such a young age, it's hard to kind of give an answer. With everything, there's the nature versus nurture debate, and we're given a certain set of genetics, and but then also on top of that, the nurture part is so important. So I had really supportive parents that I feel was the perfect balance of support, but also allowing and encouraging my own independence too. And I was, pretty independent at a young age and wanted to try things on my own. And yeah, with everyone, those first 5 years are so formative. So for me, I see those first 5 years as such a blessing, because it taught me how to overcome obstacles. And at first, it was the physical obstacles of getting around as a young boy, and then eventually, translating those lessons of how do I get what I want, basically, or get where I want, and overcome the boundaries and barriers along the way. So I think, yeah, a combination of those things, being in the hospital for so much of the first 5 years of my life. I remember surgeries at 4 years old, and the hospital, and my imagination just thinking about things to play, things I want to do when I get out. And then so it was like when I got out, I just had a huge appreciation for life and activity and sport and health. And yeah, I think that beginning was very yeah, very formative for me.
And what age did you start? Like I want to know, like where, like how did this all become? Like how did you say, hey, I'm going to start racing and I'm going to go into my wheelchair and I'm going to race? Like, did you just decide it when you were like, I don't know, 10, or was it introduced to you? Like where did it all start from? How did that, were you always into working out? Like
Yeah,
what was,
I was always into sports. Me and my younger brothers and kids, on the different blocks. My dad was in the military, so we moved 8 times before I was 9. I'm the oldest of 10 kids, so there was always lots of sports, lots of activity, um, lots of competitiveness too. So that was obviously probably a factor. And we played road hockey and football, but road hockey was a big one. I'd play goalie on my knees, and but it wasn't until high school where I was introduced to racing, and I watched the Paralympics and Jeff Adams do so well in Sydney, and that was inspiring to me. And I wanted to do that and pursue that, and a little bit of fate of a local coach being in my hometown, and approaching me at a restaurant that I was at, um, and yeah, setting me up with my first chair, and some training and networking. So that's kind of how I got involved. And like with any new challenge, like I wanted to see how good I could do. I wanted to see how fast I could be, and I fell in love with it. And yeah, that's how I started.
you mentioned, and I read this too, that your father was in the military.
Hmm.
And so like then I started thinking about, is that where you got his discipline from? Because like, was your dad like one of those guys that was like, okay, you need to like fold your sheets this way with the right amount of creases, and this is how you're gonna fold your laundry? Like
Yeah.
is that where the discipline started from?
There was definitely a lot of discipline. There was the making the beds properly, and yeah, it's that combination, I'm sure, of, yeah, like I think at times it was like feeling like him running a platoon to kind of keep order amongst all the kids, and my mom providing the balance to that of slowing things down at times and whatever. But yeah, I think from my dad, maybe I would say the focus. He was a fighter pilot, and I think I got that kind of focus and competitive drive. And my mom too was very competitive in sports, and yeah, maybe I got a bit there.
I'm sure. Um, so as a fitness professional,
Hmm.
our job is to motivate and inspire.
Hmm.
And since March, we've had to reinvent the way that we motivate and inspire our clients. And many of our clients are going through that, what they call COVID fatigue, right?
Yep.
And not only are our clients going through COVID fatigue, but so are we as fitness professionals, as coaches, as people who lead classes. And what I want to know is, what advice would you have to for people, not even just fitness professionals, but I'm talking about, it could be mentors, coaches, teachers, how to stay motivated, and keep that going, because they are like the people who have to keep others motivated. And where do you find that motivation?
Yeah, it's difficult. And like I'm going through it too, just like everybody, the difficulty of COVID. I haven't raced in over a year. So that's the most in my whole entire 20 years racing. I had an injury last winter, so I had added stress on top of that, of different phases of COVID, of either not getting treatment or getting treatment, or whatever, which is super important, obviously, for my goals for Tokyo and leading up. It's reaffirmed for me the little goals along the way and how important they are. I talk about the biggest wins and the hardest losses. Either way, when they're both done, they're done, and it's on to the next. After a big medal win, it's great, you take that forever. The hardest losses you take that with you, but it is always still moving forward on to the next. But there hasn't been a next in so long, that little kind of benchmark goal. So I had to kind of gear up on my own and kind of target my own kind of event that I wanted to do, just for myself, even though there wasn't anyone else. And that was sort of one thing to do to kind of keep motivated. New challenge for me. I've my partner has 2 twin toddlers, so I'm currently, if anyone saw my IG live post today, I'm training in the basement laundry room, like that's how I'm training for the Paralympic Games currently right now. It's not ideal, especially at this stage of my career, but adapting is the biggest key component throughout all of this. You just have to figure it out, and not everything's going to get figured out for ourselves, and spending that time to just, have some quiet, put pen to paper, just be in your own thoughts, figure out what you need, be accountable. It is tough for me for motivation these days for training too. Being indoors, being in kind of like enclosed space, nothing for certain on the horizon to kind of aim for besides Tokyo. Like maybe it might be another 5 or 6 months. So I always find that even though it's hard to get going, when you start, you never really regret it for trying. I get more of regret at times if I don't just go and do it. At the same time, if you try, or you're honest with yourself and you don't have the energy, that's okay too. And we had talked about this before, just like how important it is to kind of be real with yourself. And you've experienced that too, right? Like finding the
Yes.
energy during this time.
Absolutely. Yeah. No. You asked me yesterday about the when we were chatting about that, like just being real with it. And I know for me, when all of this started, like I'm a hustler by nature, right?
Yeah.
Like that's just the way it is. Like I hustle. So I had to react fast to what happened in March. And right away, like I literally, gyms were closed, everything was going online. And, that happened. I remember it being a Sunday. And then on Monday, I was like, okay, I don't know what I'm doing, but I'm just going to go live. And reacted super fast to the situation. And I think that was, was the important part that I reacted. But the one thing that I do miss, because we as humans we need that social connection with one another. And that's, I thrive off of people's energy. And so for me, that's what I miss. But then I get these opportunities where I'm here talking to you and like getting to know you, and like I'm thriving off of your energy, and like our
Thanks.
conversations the last few days have been just absolutely amazing. And it just goes back to uh it just goes back to like looking at the opportunities that you can, like for me is just the opportunity of, I looked at COVID as being just an opportunity,
Yes.
and to meet people like you who motivate me.
Well, it's such a key thing. Like I'm looking for motivation constantly too for myself. Like my inspiration has to come from somewhere at times, and sometimes it's within, and sometimes it isn't. If there isn't sports to watch necessarily, like looking up old games or documentaries, things that just give you the fire, it's kind of like schedule those in to help fill up your motivation fuel tank. Or with the new challenges. Like for me, it's the new challenge of trying to train, at the level that I'm training at, and then balancing work. Then I have my outside commitments, and then family life, and so like I've been looking to top athletes with families for motivation, because that's kind of specific and is resonating currently. And yeah, to what you were saying, adapting and rising to the challenge. If there's anything that I've learned throughout my life, it is about how the challenges help us learn and grow and become something more. And I learned that at a young age with, the cancer in my spine and being partially paralyzed, and being, bullied as a kid in some of the schools, or having troubles getting around, or the toughest losses that I've had, or, relationship issues, or whatever, like the low lows, rock bottom financially, all of those low lows. I've learned that it's okay, because that at least, you may not know what it is, but when you come out the other end, you'll get something from it. So when COVID kind of happened, I kind of just like had this rise to the challenge kind of within me. It's like a new challenge. How am I going to make this seemingly difficult time, how am I going to make it so it actually comes out as I've got something new out of this. I learned something out of this. I'm either wiser or stronger out of something that's supposed to bring me down. So that kind of um, motivated me as well. But another thing, like you're saying, being real with the emotion kind of that you're feeling. Like there's days where I'm certain you don't feel like going and instructing a class and giving all that crazy energy you do, right?
Right. But I mean, like, yeah. So, but like you said earlier in our conversation, is that you love this, like you love
Mm-hmm.
racing. It's the
Mm-hmm.
love. And for me, there are days where I'm just like, oh, but then I absolutely love what I do. And
Mm-hmm.
so that's where I get the fire. Like you love racing. And
Mm-hmm.
I saw it in you. I was watching you on that rate, that
Yeah.
Peachtree race.
Yeah.
And I was just like, I literally couldn't stop staring at it, because you can see it in your whole entire body, the way your body moves. You can
Mm-hmm.
feel that love, that, and like, so when you said that you just love it, I
Mm-hmm.
get it, right? Like that I think the thing is that our motivation, whether you're racing and I'm teaching a fitness class or teaching to my students, it's a love, it's a passion that comes from in here. And that's what motivates me to just like keep going, right? And I'm
Mm-hmm.
sure you feel that way when, like, when you're doing your race and you're like, I'm going to get that fastest speed. Like, tell me a little bit, like, I want to know what was
Sure.
going, yeah, tell me a little bit about like, what was the speed, um, what was the fastest time before the Boston Marathon? So before you did the time of 1:18.
I beat it by just a couple of seconds. So I'll
Ooh,
tell that story, but you got me on something else that I wanted to say too,
go.
while I'm
Do
thinking about
it.
it, because there are a lot of times where I don't love it, days where I don't feel that passion to go and do it, that I don't want to do it, and particularly in this situation with no race on the forefront, not training outdoors right now. um, in ways it's not as fun. Okay.
Mhm.
But there are times, where I do have fun at it too. But sometimes in that energy that you're in, there are times you have to fight through it, and there are times you have to let it go.
Mhm.
There are times where if you are really, 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 really not feeling it, and you have to be your own honest barometer to just, let it go or push through it. Maybe if you're frustrated about, the situation with COVID or something going on, taking it out in the training session, transform that energy into the class you're instructing. um, and I found that to be, really useful too. And for me, training indoors, people ask like, do you listen to music when I'm like staring at a wall? And I didn't for most of my career. The last couple of years I started to sometimes, more so in the long distance sessions, but when there's the intervals, I'm like paying attention to speeds and whatnot. But I was listening to music more during this time.
Mhm.
I forgot my phone at my mom's over Christmas, and I had a few days without it, which at first is stressful, and then not. Um, but I was forced then to train without anything again, which I loved. Like it reminded me like a bit of. I was forced to kind of be in my head during training indoors during a tough time, um, and thinking about drawing on motivation. It just kind of becomes meditative. So, anyways, yeah,
I love that.
yeah, it's so much yeah, we'll touch on it again later, but yeah, it's the energy of what you have within you and how you transform it. Because I've won races where I felt confident, I felt in love with the sport, I felt just like relaxed, and I've done amazing. But I've also felt that way and it didn't turn out. I've been entered a race or been on the start line and maybe been frustrated with a situation outside of the race, or maybe one of the other competitors who, you know, was cutting me off or trying to like cause a crash or something like that in the last one. And that distracted me and maybe didn't make me do as well as I had wanted to. There are other times in that exact same scenario, I transform that energy into almost like an angry kind of uh, fuel that made me go and do well too. So it is this really important, I think, um, balance of that just takes time, is just understanding the difference between making a decision of, all right, uh, you're aware of the energy that's within you. Can I be better? Is there thoughts that I have to change? Um, and make the decision of what are the thoughts that I need to have, the self-talk, in order to change the feeling within me. Or then there's times where, if you try that, is just being okay with the energy that you're in right now. And if it's frustrated, if it's sad, if it's dead, you know, and somehow figuring out, how do I transform this towards what I want or getting my goal. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I mean, I get it. So I have another question.
Hmm.
What's next for you, Josh? So you're training for, you would have been in Tokyo, yes?
Hmm.
Was that, so is it, is that what's next?
Yes. So
Yeah.
the games would be this coming summer. So maybe there's a race in Dubai in a month or so. Otherwise, probably not until maybe May is the next one. Um, so yeah, nothing too certain right now, like anyone, right?
Right. No,
Yeah.
I get it. I get it. So it's like right now you're just training, just doing your training. in the basement.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which is amazing, by the way. Like, listen, got to do what you got to do, right?
Right.
Like,
Yeah.
like straight up, you're like, you know what? I'm going to the basement. I'm gonna do what I got to do downstairs. So amazing.
So
This was
what about you?
what.
Like for yourself, for mentally, like when you're having the tough times, and you don't feel like, teaching a class, or maybe no energy that day. Talk about the place that you go to. Where do you have to
Where do
dig
I
deep?
go to? I have to say that, okay, so for me, like I've always been, I keep it pretty real. Like
Hmm.
I get my job is to be a certain way. That's my job. My job is to
Hmm.
motivate, inspire, and deep down, I absolutely do love it. So there's that fire inside of me
Hmm.
that just comes out because I'm like, oh, this is so, I love this. I love this so much. But I mean, I am real to everyone who knows me. I have to say I have the greatest support team ever. You mentioned that you had your parents and they were such a great support to you. Well, the people that I've surrounded myself with in my life, from my husband to my best friends to my fitness friends, hello, some of them are out there, you know who you are. um, like, you have been such a great support to me, and that's where I can be me and fully be me. And just if I am having, like, I'm, listen, the energy that you see, that good one, like, imagine on the other end. And
Yeah.
everybody who knows me also has seen that other end. I do not hide my emotions at all. Like, it's funny because even when I'm at my worst, it does seem like I'm at my best when I'm working, because that's my
Hmm.
job.
Hmm.
But if when I'm able to just let it go and let it out, and just like, and I am fire, right? Like,
Hmm.
and if I just like let it out, that's like, and I surround myself with the people who allow me to do that
Uh-huh.
and just be like not okay,
Hmm.
then I'm good. Like, if I did not have that support system and I didn't have that person, and it isn't like, I'm very lucky and blessed to have a big support system, but to at least have one person in my life that I could just be real with.
Hmm.
I mean, that for me is golden. And I do wear my heart on my sleeve. So
Good.
it's very clear. And you know what? I do dance parties. I
I've seen.
do dance
I've
parties.
seen.
Okay. So when I'm not feeling good, I'm just dancing about, right? So yes, and you have seen it.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah, no, it's good. Like, yeah, you have to be, be true with yourself and your emotion. And like, yeah, some of the times that I don't want to train, I'll actually make a longer training session than I even was supposed to do, just to kind of almost like be angry about it and like push through. Or on the flip side, just like because it's like you said, it's like once you start the ball rolling or spark the flame in the fire, the hardest part is sometimes just starting. And if you just like, just start, you start feeling good, you get into that space, and that connection between the physical and mental, is just so important, obviously. And there's such a correlation there. And I've talked to people who never really trained regularly and took the time to start training during COVID at home, and they noticed their mental health just go straight up. And it's like, oh, why wasn't I doing this before COVID? And now there's people obviously on the other side, that need that support or need that nudge. They need virtual trainers like you and so many out there to help get the ball rolling. People are alone. And yeah, because right now it's another lockdown and another mentally tough time for everyone. And just having that physical health component is just, it's just so important, you know. But
Well,
yeah.
oh, it's 8:30. Okay. Listen, I could sit here and chat with you. Like, I mean, listen, I know your number. I can,
Yeah.
like, I'm just going to call you every day now. But there are some Q&As. If there's any questions, I guess now's the time to ask. Does anyone have any questions out there? Oh, do you see that question?
Yes, I do. Is there a coach or athlete that you look up to as a role model, and why? Okay, so for me growing up, my favorite sport was hockey. So my role model was Patrick Watt. I'll never forget like a hockey card that I had that it said study hard, and there was like a little quote from him on it. And it was just about work ethic and focus. And that really resonated with me. And so much is transferable, like even though that's a different sport. I say sport is like such a microcosm for life. And anyways, that really instilled that example of a work ethic and passion and dedication really became my motto, I guess, or my formula. So yeah, so that, and then as I mentioned, Jeff Adams on the racing side, I eventually joined the Canadian team. He became like a mentor for me and was super generous. He became a competitor, so an enemy at times, and a friend too. So yeah, so those were a couple of figures kind of growing up, but there's always new ones, and it's like there's always these inspirational stories all around us. And that's the great thing with the technology today is there's so much that we can draw from. There's so many stories out there. How about you?
Uh, wh- who, me?
Yeah.
Oh, my favorite sport person?
Yeah.
Michael Jordan.
Michael Jordan. Oh,
Listen, I grew up on 90s basketball, and I never missed a game. And that movie, The Last Dance,
oh yeah.
every game that was played, I remember exactly where I was watching. I never missed one. I wanted to be like Mike so bad. And back then they did not have women's basketball. And like I literally thought I was gonna be the first first women's basketball player when I was in grade 9. It was amazing. Anyways, there's
That's
more questions
awesome.
coming through. So we got one from Jack that says, when it comes to training programs for yourself, how do you typically go about designing them?
Is that for me, do you think, or for
Yeah,
you?
that's definitely for you.
Okay. Well, I've had various coaches, throughout my career, and most longtime coach was Amanda Fader, and I still work with her a bit. And then Wayne Burke is my strength coach, and he's with Pursuit in Guelph. Um, so when I'm doing my stuff right now, one of the things that I've done throughout the years, and one of the things I loved about um, my coach was she didn't have this huge ego about her, where it kind of seems to be a thing sometimes with some coaches, in my experience anyways, where it's like, oh, they're doing that wrong, or we know better. Where my coach Amanda, like, I will go train with other athletes around the world that I got along with, and their coaches, and I would learn things from them, and then was able to bring them back and say, hey, this was really great, we should integrate this into the program. So that exposure thing, which never stops, the learning never stops, right? Constantly trying to look for new things to get an edge, all plays a big part. So when I'm designing the stuff, my programs, it comes from all the things that I've gathered throughout the years. There's sort of like a macro level of the main goal of the year, which is usually the Olympics or Paralympics or World Championships, and then all the little different events. What do I want to kind of target and peak for the most, whether that's a Boston Marathon or focus on a national championships or whatever that is. So that's the short long answer.
Okay, so here's another question from Drew. Would you look at being a coach in the future?
I thought about it. I think I'm when you're asking what's next, I went to school for illustration, so I've got illustration projects and paintings unfinished right here. But yeah, so there's other things that I want to do, but I do love coaching and I do want to pass down knowledge. So I'll probably do more on like a camp contract basis when I'm done. Just do kind of little events here and there, I think. Yeah.
This one is from Scott. Hi guys, thanks very much for this. You guys are awesome and your energy is contagious. Josh, I would like to hear your approach to nutrition and diet. Has it changed over your career? Does it change from training to competing?
Good question. Okay, short answer. Short answer. Yeah, I basically, trying to eat organic and raw and basically cutting down sugars. I went really dialed in for a while with calories and kind of got the gist of eating healthy, that I kind of know what's good and what's not. But I'm gonna kind of dive back in as I'm going into now Olympic year, and definitely Game Changers documentary has piqued my interest of going even further kind of on the vegetarian scale. I don't eat very much red meat too often, a little bit of white meat. Eat Right for Your Blood Type was a book that resonated. Kind of eating on the ketogenic, closer to vegetarian when there's options, is kind of the way that I've done things. But yeah, interesting things like I've learned, like when I won the Boston Marathon, that morning I had a banana and some kind of like a protein bar, and like I think I had like 2 bites of the oatmeal that I had, and then that was it. I didn't want to be on a full stomach. I had, done the right nutrition and hydration leading up, and yeah, being in ketosis is something else that I've worked in a lot with, fasting in the mornings, and I use exogenous ketones as well, which I kind of balance and work in. So there's so much, but yeah, off the top of my head.
This one is from Anna. So, sorry, wait, this one is there was first Josh. Well, let's start with Josh's because I think his came first. Okay. So it's a question for you and for me. So I'll do yours first. Hi, Josh. What's the next big win for you?
The next big win would be Tokyo. It would be Paralympics. So out of all the major competitions and races, what I don't have is a medal from the Paralympics. So that's what I'm missing, and that's what I'm going for is yeah, trying to be my best in that 1 week competition that matters most.
Awesome. And then for me, how hard to find raining people online? So Howard, for me, I think it's been not like, it was a challenge. It's getting more of a challenge now as more and more people are going online. But when I was doing I was doing a lot of classes online. And when I was teaching online fitness classes, a lot of people would privately message me and ask, "Oh, are you doing training? Are you doing this?" So I always advise people to do some fitness tips on their Instagram page, or sort of make noise on your Instagram page, and create an energy and a buzz that people are just like they want it, right? And then you ask, which part of the last dance do I like the best? I mean, I like all the parts the best, but to be honest with you, the part where Michael Jordan, he was a difficult guy, but that's what made him just so want to be better. And when you get to see that in him, I get it. Like, he wanted to be the best. And then he talked about how he was sick that day and he still won it, and he was sick and he just wanted to win. And he just wanted to be the best. So I mean, there's just so much parts of that, and I will watch it again and again and again and again. So I'm just going to, that one's answered. Okay. So this is from Anna. Josh, thank you for sharing your motivational story. With child obesity rates increasing across Canada, what is your advice to motivate kids to eat healthy and stay active?
Yeah, it's tough with kids, right? Like so much of that comes, um, yeah. Okay, I'm thinking on my answer here for a second. You know, kids can't make all the choices themselves, obviously, right? So there's a combination of the parents and the kids. One of the most important things is trying to kind of, I guess, show them, I guess, the relationship between the physical health and mental health, and how eating healthy makes you feel better. Um, it's so tough. I mean, you see people that get raised in homes where they eat healthy all growing up, and then they get out on their own, and then they just binge eat whatever that they didn't get to have as kids, right? You know, on the flip side, you have kids that grew up in homes where there's a lot of junk food and they have an obesity problem, and but that's inspired them when they got out to get healthy and eat. So I feel like, I personally feel like, you know, having a healthy balance is important. Um, as parents, you know, you can control what food is in the home. um, that's how I make it easier for myself. The stuff that I shouldn't eat, I don't create the temptation by buying it. That makes it easier. I definitely treat myself, you know, now and then. Like I love chocolate, so like I'll have like dark chocolate, I'll have a chocolate bar, I'll have like, you know, a square two or whatever it is, and you know, kind of like suppress that craving, or get that fix, right? So that's yeah, that's what I find, that works for me. But I think the bigger scale, what needs to happen is, you know, it's got to be fun, you know, the fitness part and the nutrition part. And um conveniently, that's what I love about motion is, you know, creating a platform that, you know, is easily accessible. And as it grows and progresses, you know, having this game element, like you look at these things like Fortnite and how they take off. um you know, there's the game element that's mentally stimulating. And you know, these are the types of things that we have to figure out, for inspiring the next generation.
Question from Anonymous, and it was upvoted as well. Josh, how did your art help you preserve your challenges?
Oh, persevere for my
Or
challenges. It
persevere,
was,
sorry.
that's all right. No, no. Yeah, it was difficult going through University Sheridan. It was like a super difficult program. So I was like pulling an all-nighter once a week, um, and it was tough. But it was almost like training then was an outlet for the art, and then art was like an outlet for the training. And it was kind of like two simultaneous tanks of passion that kind of helped fuel me. But when I did graduate, my racing career took off. The year that I graduated, I actually got my foot in the door at Marvel Comics, and was doing test scripts for them. But that came at a time where I just won the London Marathon, which that marked the first time that I had beaten everyone on the world stage for the first time. Um, and so I had to make a decision and put that on the back burner. But I've been told that, by competitors, that they can see my kind of creative side in my racing. So they definitely, it's a part of the brain that, you know, there's so many ways to be creative, and stimulating that is, no matter what your occupation is, it's, yeah, it'll complement it somehow.
A question from Dorota. Hi there. A question for Josh. What was your biggest loss?
Biggest loss. That's a tough one because there's so many. Despite all the, like, there's a lot of big wins, but there's, you know, I say from that picture of me holding up the medals, for every one of those medals, there's 10 races lost. And those are the ones that, you know, you learn from, and you grow from. But when you're in them, you know, they're not fun. And whether that's, yeah, in racing, whether that's like London Paralympics, that came after I won Boston, world's fastest time for the marathon. That week I was sick with a bacteria infection. That one week that mattered most. And I had all my family in the stands, friends in the stands, sponsors in the stands. And the race that I quietly thought to myself that I had a really good shot at winning a medal in, I didn't even make the finals. And I was, in my room and just a mess. Um, and yeah, that one was so difficult because it all goes up to this one moment. Um, and it was really important for me because it taught me, or it reminded me really, that it's not that one moment that matters that defines me. That is the one week, the Olympics or the Paralympics, that the world sees. But there was 4 years leading up to that, or really 10 years before that, of racing, where I'm training every single day in, day out. um, and that's really kind of applicable to the situation now with COVID. There's no eyes on us. It's what we're doing for ourselves, that matters. And anyways, so going through the games, that was difficult, and I slowly was getting better, but I learned so much through it. Met someone who taught me some alternative forms of treatment. Mentally resilient, controlling what you can, letting go of what you can't became a big lesson. Like, I did everything I could to be there, and here's this illness that I can't control. So what do I do? What I can, and that's focus on my mind. Somehow believe that I have a chance to win, um, despite physically not feeling well. And I didn't, but I was so proud of rocking up on the line every race, and making it to finals. And my last race there, I was even in a crash in the first 200 meters of the final race. I was in there after everything I'd been through, and I kind of swerved back on the track. I pushed through. I ended up finishing fifth, and I came off the track laughing because, like, I did what I could in the midst of that. Oh, here we go. After all of this, there's a crash, and it's affected me after everything I've been through. In that moment, it was rise to the challenge, give everything. And I didn't win, but I was proud that I gave everything. I finished fifth, and I have to now let go before I even get. So it wasn't going back to my room and being upset for weeks. It was before I even got off, you know. Um, so there was so much learning from that big loss. Um, that's an example of something to share. Yeah.
Question from Masij. With the gyms mostly closed during the pandemic, and being a person who gets motivated by being in a gym gym setting, how do you find the motivation to stay on a modified home fitness program?
Um, yeah, I kind of always just take pride in, what am I doing different or more than others. And this is from a competitive nature, I guess. This isn't just the general health, but it's like, how do I make the best of this difficult situation? I remember, actually, it was in 2012, New Year's Eve, I decided that I was going to work out entering the new year. So, like, as the clock struck midnight, I was in my condo gym, and I was doing a training session, and it was my goal. Like, I want to enter the new year hitting the best top speed I've ever hit. And that's what I did. That's what motivated me. It was sort of like being the underdog in this situation of COVID, of being locked down, being in an unideal situation, being in a basement, which truly, at this stage of my life and my career, I do not want to be, and training there. It's like, okay, I've done this before. You know what? How amazing would it be to have a great month or 2 months or 3 months or whatever it's going to be of training out of a laundry room? Um, so trying to find these kind of like little edges, for motivation, and trying to keep it fun, and using it as a meditative time.
Question from Luciano. Josh, are your learning lessons different from your losses than from your wins?
Oh, okay. Luciano. I just did a podcast with Luciano the other day. That's a great question. So I kind of, I guess, answered that one a bit. I guess I would just also say, um, yeah, you always tend to learn more. I think, um, kind of just broadly paint that answer as like you tend to learn more, I think, from the difficult times than the wins. So, they're necessary. They're necessary to help the wins happen. So that's kind of what makes them a little bit easier for sure.
From Scott, another one. Josh, what is your favorite distance to race? 5, 10 marathon, 5, 10 marathon, other.
To be honest, what isn't the Paralympic event that's probably my favorite is the 10K road race. It's just like this. It's on the road, so there's the technical elements, which I love. Even our marathons are fast start to finish, but I really like that distance. But yeah, the 5,000 on the track's fun. It's longer, but there's a lot of tactics, and marathon is definitely a true mental resilience exercise.
We've got 2 more questions here, and they're both from Travis. The first one is, how do you identify overtraining? How do you adapt / pivot for it?
Yeah, a great tool that my strength coach Wayne Burke introduced to me years ago was an HRV app for my phone. So I take my heart rate every morning, and the heart rate variability is even more accurate than just your heart rate. And basically, it gives me my training readiness for the day. I know myself pretty well now that, like, I can even kind of, as I'm doing my heart rate, kind of predict what my HRV score is going to be. But it's good to just kind of have that real data confirmation of, okay, basically telling if your body's in a parasympathetic or sympathetic state, to know, like, are you ready for training, or should you modify so that it's not quite as hard, or should you take an early day off even though you're not supposed to, if your body's not ready for it, but it's saying that you need more time, more recovery time, take it. So for someone that likes to kind of almost usually go on the overtraining side of things, that's been a key kind of tool for me to help make sure that I'm monitoring my training readiness. There are times in blocks where it's like training camp, for instance, where I'm supposed to be going through a tough phase. It's supposed to hurt, and I'm hurting the next day, and I got another one. And there's a period of time in the cycle where that's good for both, physically building, and then also, mental resilience building, like how strong can you be when you're feeling, this down. So, yeah.
And Travis also asked, what is something you're especially grateful for lately?
Oh, that's such a great question. Because yeah, in these tough times, gratitude is just, it's so important. If things are tough, it's like, if you find something to be thankful for, um, it reminds you of what you have. And so you're not focusing on what you don't have, right? You're focusing on what you do have. So right now, I'm definitely very thankful for family, and health, and the two twin boys. My partner's twin boys were sick over last week, and my stepdad is in the hospital with a heart condition, and it definitely made me right now, for sure, appreciate health. And the last couple of weeks months have been very busy for work. So I'm appreciative of that, just between training and speaking and doing work for MOSHN, and starting this exciting venture. I filmed a movie recently, but things aren't always always good. There's always going to be waves of constantly of ups and downs. So yeah, focusing on what we do have is super important. Thank you.
We got one more question, and it's perfect because we're almost at the end. And this one's from Wendy. I actually like this question. What music gets you over the edge when you want to call it quits? What is the most motivating track on your playlist?
You should start this one. I'm sure you have one on deck.
I do. I have lots.
Yeah.
So what's yours?
What's my, no, you go first. What's yours?
Me? Oh my
Yeah.
gosh. Okay, well, guys, I grew up on like 90s hip hop everything, and I grew up on all 90s music, and I know I love me some Alanis Morissette, man. Like
Oh
she
yeah.
like that her one album, the what is it, Little Dirty Pill or whatever it is, that
Yeah.
whole
Jagged
album,
Little
I could,
Pill.
yeah, Jagged Little Pill.
Yeah.
I could totally like listen to that from beginning to end. It's just like, I don't but I'm all
Nice.
about 90s music. It was just because like I identify with it. I was in high school during the 90s. I just love it. So any 90s music, like you can go from Biggie to Tupac to Nirvana to Alanis Morissette. Give me some Madonna in there. I am all about it.
Yeah.
And you, what about you? What's yours?
Oh, just one is difficult. Yeah, whatever kind of I guess strikes your mind of that this is what I need. But for me, there's a lot of hip hop and rap that's kind of you know, it's got a beat, it's aggressive, it's confident, it's overconfident, it's yeah, it's usually kind of my go-to. But I also listen to movie soundtracks too, a lot, and kind of like those big
Ah.
epic movie soundtracks that kind of are like sort of inspirational, but also kind of put you in almost like a meditative state
Oh my
too.
God, name one.
I love the Man of Steel soundtrack, Interstellar, but that's more meditation that I like to use. I love like Hans Zimmer, a lot of Hans Zimmer stuff. Um, yeah,
I
yeah,
like the
kind of
dirty
epic
dance.
film sound.
I like the dirty dancing
Oh yeah, yeah.
one.
It might do more for you than me, but
Anyways, this was so amazing to chat with you.
thank you. You too.
I wanted to thank Motion, because honestly, if it wasn't for Motion posting that live footage of you doing the Peachtree race back in November, that was my first introduction to who you were, and I was glued to, like, literally, this is my phone. I was glued to it. I was like folding laundry, and I was like, okay, I was trying to like place it on the bed and watch it and look at it, and I for me, like, it was my 2020 inspiration, and I'm going to go into 2021 with that same inspired feeling. And now that I can call you my friend, like, it's just, I feel good leaving 2020, meeting you and getting a chance to speak with you. And thank you, Motion, for introducing us, because honestly, you inspire me, my friend, and I'm really happy to have had this conversation. So thank
Well,
you so
thank you.
much.
Thanks,
Thank
Carmen.
you.
Me too.
Thank you.
I'm happy to have met you. Yeah. No, it's so great, and yeah, to end on really I wanted to end on the gratitude component, which is ironic that that was the last question, and I kind of challenge everyone to do that too, is just to think about what they're grateful for right now. You know, everyone's so anxious for 2020 to be done after the year that it is, but you know, we're in lockdown right now too, and that's how we're going to be entering 2021, which for some people there's going to be a fatigued, exhausted component. I'm sure there's a fear component if bad things happened in 2020 and difficult times and challenges. But like I said, you know, through these difficult times and challenges, um, you know, there's always something to be grateful for. I'm still not 100% from my shoulder injury, and it's taught me so much, and I'm having to dig really deep right now, but there's so much that I know that it's brought me in terms of learning and growth, and all the other challenges COVID has brought. So yeah, so I just encourage everyone to take some time on this New Year's, and instead of flipping the bird to 2020, why don't you also give a thanks to 2020? Try and think about what did 2020 give you, and that energy and focus will help you going into 2021 of you know, attracting the things that it is that you want for yourself. And you know, for so many of us, you know, that mental and physical health component is so important. So yeah, so thank you. And to get people on that note, let's invite them to your next training session.
Oh my God, yes. Tomorrow morning I'm doing my top 2020 playlist actually. So
Awesome.
everything, yes, it's a top 2020 playlist tomorrow morning at 7 a.m. And I'm gonna be having a dance party on my bike and having my own little New Year's party on a bike.
That's awesome.
Amazing. Well, I want to thank everybody else. And here comes Matt. Hey, Matt.
I figured I'd make a quick appearance just to wrap everything up and say thank you so much, guys. Honestly, that it's inspiring to hear from you, and just for like you guys have talked throughout, right? For those times throughout the year, especially this year, where we've all felt like crap, and it's just an absolute grind. To hear other folks talking about the same things, going through the same things, and to see where you find motivation is amazing. And someone mentioned earlier, had a question about Josh being an artist. So on that note, Carmen, we just want to let you know, check this out here. This is a MOSHN original that Josh has created for us, signed for you. So you got copy one coming to you. This is really cool. This is going to be going out for all MOSHN stuff moving forward, and an amazing piece.
That's so amazing. Yeah. Thank you. I love it. Oh my God, I got to frame it.
Yeah. No, we'll have a frame for you. Don't worry. I just didn't get there tonight. Okay.
Oh, okay. Well, you better get on that, Matt.
Yeah, I'm working. Okay. Yeah. Thank you very much, Carmen. Thank you very much, Josh, for taking your time, sharing your experiences and your insight. We truly appreciate it. And we look forward to, I don't know, maybe doing this again. We'll just
for sure
put that in there.
Yeah, and if anyone has any questions that come to you later, you can follow, I'm on social media at Josh Cassidy 84. So whether you were too shy, or if something just comes to your mind later, please reach out and yeah, check out.
I'll put it on is it Josh Cassidy?
At Josh Cassidy 84, yeah. And if you aren't on, haven't checked out MOSHN, check out the app too. Yeah, Matt, I'll let you give those details too.
Do that again.
Yeah. Well, here, you know what? We'll I'll
add it all in here.
Yeah.
And everyone's got a way to get in touch with us as well. So
perfect.
Yeah. Well, thank you very much. And we're at the 9:01 mark, so let's wrap this up. Everyone have a wonderful evening, a great New Year's, and hopefully a newly motivated start, fresh to 2021. Take care.
Bye.
Thanks for tuning in, everyone.